Hey dudes, welcome back to another stream. Today we're going to do some game development. Going to continue working on the unnamed tabletop role-playing game. There's going to be a lot of typing essentially today. So I'm going to try to do my best to dictate exactly what I'm putting down into the manuscript just to make sure I'm not silent the entire stream. There's going to be some work on the mechanics, especially as new areas that need to be addressed arise, but mostly the mechanics are fairly set in stone at this stage. Well, that's the wrong phrase. That would imply that they're unchangeable, which is definitely not true, but the mechanics have kind of come to a point where I'm fairly satisfied that I can start compiling the actual book, the actual player and dungeon master resources now. So that's exactly what we're going to do today. I think the best place for me to start really is essentially by preparing a list of chapters so that I don't constantly have to refer to my reference material. I can just do it once and minimize it throughout the rest of the stream. Okay, first thing will be a table of contents. Okay, I have no idea how you format things in this version of Word. It's of course the Google Docs layout, paragraph styles. Oh, here we go. This is good. Control Alt 1, 2, blah blah blah, title. Control Alt D for normal, and subtitle. Okay. I guess we need a title. Should these be bullet points? I guess not, but what was it? Control Alt 1? Yeah. Okay. It's actually Control Alt 0. This seems like a really poor way of formatting this thing. So I think for now I'm just going to go ahead and throw these in and worry about formatting later. Not sure whether I should call this chapter Arcana or Magic. think I'll use magic just because Arcana's going to be a subheading in the skills section. So we'll try to avoid duplicates to minimize confusion. So I actually kind of prefer the layout used in 4th edition here. So it's kind of minimized. And some of the chapters I'm seeing... Hey, DDR House HQ. What's up, bro? Welcome to the stream. Holy shit. This entire page is playtesters. That is impressive. Damn, I just wanted to take a look at that, but this is definitely a more minimized chapter selection. RuneScape. Wow, it's been a while since I've visited RuneScape. I hope you're having an excellent time doing whatever you're doing in game. I am building a tabletop role-playing game here of the high fantasy genre. It's essentially it's heavily based on the Stars Without Numbers system. I enjoyed the rule set in Stars Without Numbers so much that I wanted to play a high fantasy game with very similar rules. And I looked into AD&D and basic D&D and 3rd edition, 4th edition, Dungeon World, all of these different systems, and nothing seemed to provide exactly what I was looking for. And even though I thought the idea was quite preposterous at first, I soon decided that the only choice remaining was to actually write a system of my own. And here we are, in some sort of hell that I've created for myself, where I'm going to try and create my first tabletop role-playing game. It's going to, well, primary directives are to have a heavily minimized rule set, which really emphasizes fast-paced campaign progression and also combat experiences or encounters. The world is a little bit different from a conventional layout. you don't. It could be a lot of work. Could be a lot of work. You're right. You're not actually going to gain spells, for example, by leveling your character. You're going to find them through exploration, and it's going to very much emphasize a sort of procedurally generated world. So if your DM is not necessarily so quick and on the ball as to be able to create this rolling landscape as you trek through it, you'll probably be able to roll on some tables which I'll compile and quite easily pull in assets from there and have everything flow quite organically in that sort of sense. And so the spells are going to be discovered throughout that process in the form of sort of scrolls, tomes, and the like. What's up, Kaisriel? Welcome back, bro. How's it going? And sort of, I don't know, ancient engravings in old temples and that kind of thing. And you'll be able to add them to a spell book and then utilize a certain number of spells that you have acquired and placed into your spell book at any one given time. The world itself is kind of like, I'm leaning towards this Attack on Titan sort of style. I'm doing good, bro. A little bit rough today. Didn't sleep the best. It was just really hot. I was too warm, so I woke up and it's hella warm today. Not even wearing a shirt. That's how warm it is. Okay, where was I? Oh, the world itself. I'm imagining it to be kind of like this Attack on Titan thing, where outside of civilization, fortified cities and the like is going to be extraordinarily dangerous, and about 98% of the population, vaguely, are going to generally sort of be living in fear, working on the farmstead, trading basic goods, that kind of thing. And they'll be lorded over by some kind of ruler or king who controls the territory and has an army and offers protection, etc., etc. And that will be the 1% of sort of the ruling class. But then there's also going to be the other 1% who sort of reject this society and refuse to sell out, so to speak. They can't fight in the king's army, or they don't feel at home just working on the farmstead, like, or as an equestrian individual, or working with horses and animals and that kind of thing. They actually need to leave their mark upon the world, so they're very much striking out into the wilderness. It's kind of got this dynamic going, and the reason that magic is so rare and hard to come by is due to the fact that in most of these settlements it will be abolished by the rulers, as they are extremely afraid of magic users due to the fact that they could topple the power structure. Working on a server today. It's fascinating, dude. Well, I hope you don't encounter too many issues. Is there anything else I should really mention about the system? Probably not. I think that sums up the basics. Races, that's going to be an incredibly small chapter. Classes. Skills, of course, feats will be removed. Is that a good thing or a bad thing, Kaisriel? I have no idea. Adventuring and a combat section. Combat is essentially the systems section, as far as I can tell. Just going to quickly glance at the Dungeon Master's Guide. Okay, it does seem logical to break it up into two halves, or maybe even do a separate document for the Dungeon Master side of things. I don't know, I quite like it to all be compiled in one place. I feel like that's a fairly logical order for these things to go in. Start with an explanation of character creation, information about races, information about classes, information about skills, magic tables, equipment tables, and then ultimately the systems which you will be using to play. I mean, that's everything that the player is really going to need. I might realize there's something else later on, but let's leave it at that for now. I haven't really given much consideration to the Dungeon Master side of things yet, so we'll leave that for later on. No idea what to call this, so I'll name it player for now. And we'll put introduction back in. Okay. The typos will be everywhere. I apologize, guys. Right, so I'm not exactly a fantasy writer. You know, I can understand game mechanics and I can balance things and design things in that regard to a degree, but I'm not the best at descriptive flair, etc., etc. So I'll do my best here. Let's see what we can get down. We should start. What is this? Oh yeah, you linked to yesterday. So where are we at? I'm going to introduce the system before the world. I think that makes sense. And it's probably going to just be something like 2 or 3 paragraphs, very minimal. It's going to be really open-ended and really encourage the Dungeon Master to sort of spontaneously lead the campaign in a direction that they feel compelled towards. I can't really speak about this from a very personal angle. It wouldn't seem professional. Of course, the reason I was making the system is because I was looking for something of this nature to play myself and didn't find it. But that's not exactly a great opening to a book, I don't think. So let's just describe the direction of the system. Should that be a subheading? Probably. The game. It's not the best heading. Okay. The rules of this system are designed in such a manner as to encourage fast-paced and spontaneous campaign and encounter progression. The drawing inspiration from many sources, new and old, the game offers a minimized rule set that should not appear intimidating to newer players, whilst also, I mean, you can't really say should not. That just doesn't read right. I'm just going to say will not appear intimidating to newer players, whilst also offering enough depth to engage or accommodate for to proper English, accommodate to veterans of the craft, genre, scene. The rules of this system are designed in such a manner as to encourage fast-paced and spontaneous campaign and encounter progression. Drawing inspiration from many sources, new and old, the game offers a minimized rule set that will not appear intimidating to new players, whilst, I want to say simultaneously, got to be honest with you, while simultaneously, I can't spell anything, offering enough depth to accommodate, don't even need that there, accommodate veterans of the genre. Is it a genre? I presume it's a genre of games. It must be. What else would it be? I mean, that summarizes it extremely well, but there's got to be some more I can say. Okay. With a heavy emphasis on exploration and adventure, and discovery, dungeon masters with a vision of their own should find this system perfectly suitable, whilst however there are also tools which allow for the procedural generation of a world filled with adventure. I keep using the word should. It's terrible. Tools provided. Okay, I'll return to that later and see how I feel about it with fresh eyes. What the fuck am I doing? There we go. The setting. Okay, there's like a second part to this high fantasy thing. Something to do with heroes? Where did I read this? This is just fantasy. That's what it was. High fantasy and heroic romance. That is like the perfect definition, but of course that was the title of an essay by Lloyd Alexander, so I'm not just going to lift that. Probably just going to have to completely bypass actually using the term high fantasy and simply imply through description that that is the genre into which the game falls. Oh shit. The world is harsh and unforgiving. Humanity clings to a fragile form of civilization dotted throughout the seemingly endless wilderness. Kings and queens control vast numbers of fearful humans, citizens, who dart? I'm trying to say dent. Is that even a word? Who dare not question authority. By offering some vague sense of security within walled cities guarded by royal armies? Is that a thing? Or would that imply that it's an army of royal people? Oh god, I just don't know. The world is harsh and unforgiving. Humanity clings to a fragile form of civilization, dotted throughout the seemingly endless wilderness. Kings and queens control vast numbers of fearful citizens who dare not question authority. But it gets weird there. Let's just remove that bit. Kings and queens control vast numbers of fearful citizens by offering some vague sense of security within walled cities guarded by royal armies? It doesn't work, does it? Ah, guarded by Something like their personal armies? Guarded by mystery armies. Angels, the Force, Superman. Okay, yeah, I mean that seems reasonable. Let's read it again. I'm sorry, I'm going to read over things like several thousand times before we get through here. Kings and queens control vast numbers of fearful citizens by offering some vague sense of security within walled cities guarded by their personal armies. Okay, that makes some sense. um... Most humans seek some kind of stability? Some kind of stability? Some kind of stable existence? Is that right? Seek some kind of stable existence within these settlements. However, there are a brave or possibly reckless few who seek to wish to control their own destinies. Of course, this is now referring to the players themselves. Brave or possibly reckless few who wish to control their own destinies, heading out into the wilderness in search of power, not in search of pop, and the wisdom to control it. Okay, I'm going to go back to the system bit quickly because I did think of oh, this chat. Okay, I feel like there's something I can add to the system segment, so just going to recap. The rules of this system are designed in such a manner as to encourage fast-paced and spontaneous campaign and encounter progression. Drawing inspiration from many sources, new and old, the game offers a minimized rule set that will not appear intimidating to newer players, while simultaneously offering enough depth to accommodate veterans of the genre. Dungeon masters with a vision of their own should find this system perfectly suitable. However, there are also tools provided which allow for the procedural generation of a world filled with adventure. A player's life. Hold on, hold it. That's not right. Obviously, a player's life is a precious thing. All life is precious. But what I'm trying to say is that a character's life is a precious thing. A within the confines of this system. There is scarcely a moment of rest respite? That sounds way more fantasy. There's scarcely a moment of respite for those who... It's getting too... It's becoming like the setting section. Yeah, it's... balanced. Oh, God damn it. Why am I so bad at writing? Let me think about this. What I'm trying to say, maybe I should verbalize it. What I'm trying to say is that a character is never safe. Just like a human life is fragile. If a hill giant crushes you under a huge mace forged out of an entire tree, you will die. You will simply, you will die. You'll be vaporized. There'll be nothing left. You'll be turned to gelatin. I'm trying to express the fact that danger lies around every corner. There's no hand-holding. There's no safe moments. You always need to remain vigilant. I'm trying to express that the sense of danger that I'm trying to capture with the system, with things like the no combat resing element and the sort of potential one-shot system that I'm not entirely sure whether I'm including yet or not, but even without the one-shot system, you can still quite easily get one-shot by some of these creatures that will exist. If you look at the NPC tables, they get pretty stupid. I mean, we've done a small amount of testing so far, and even low-level creatures or encounters can give players a pretty hard time. I mean, I've said this system, I've said the rule, like I'm using these words so many times, I'm trying to avoid repeating myself. That's the main issue. And my knowledge of the English language simply doesn't give me enough synonyms. That's pretty dope, Dr. House, but that's more of like a thing that would be situated in the setting thing. I mean, I'm trying to think of like an analytical way of describing the rule set itself and how it facilitates this immense danger or sense of immense danger. I'm thinking I need to throw in the word balance, because of course it relates to how the players versus the NPCs are balanced. I mean, that sounds great. It sounds great for like the setting element, and I may put something like that in there. But I'm trying to get something that doesn't have the flair of like fantasy writing. Something that's just kind of down to earth and like, it's a game. We're talking about a game, some rules and shit. Okay. The encounters players will engage with. I mean, it's not even just the encounters. That sounds too restrictive. Encounters players will discover are balanced in such a way. Have I said such a way? No, I've said designed in such a manner. Fuck. Oh shit, what have I done? Encounters, you don't even need this bit. Encounters are balanced in a way that presents a taxing challenge. I'm just going to put challenge to the players. With a character's life hanging in the balance. Well, I mean, that's just restrictive again, because the entire party, I mean, if you're talking about a TPK, it's the entire party that's involved. With the party never escaping mortal danger. Okay, there's a better way to phrase that. Presents the players with a true challenge. Okay, I really can't phrase this well. If I actually had a name for the system, I could throw that name around a bit, but it's unnamed. Okay, let's return to that. It's not crucial. I'm sure I'll find some way to include it. I don't think that quite sums up exactly what I'm trying to express, House. Okay, I can just port most of this in. Oh shit, I keep doing that. There we go. I'm probably going to wind up including more races ultimately. Like one or two more. Something like an orc and a half orc. I was also thinking about those like lion humanoids. Those are kind of interesting. Just something to be sort of brutish, because, and also gnomes potentially. I mean, we have some like regular human-sized things, and elves and stuff, and dwarves, halflings, but there's nothing ludicrous in scale or stature like an orc. And I have a feeling that some players, even though in this system it's purely aesthetic, will want to play something brutish and monstrous. Okay, I guess I'm going to lift a lot of stuff from D&D now, as I am no expert on the races of a fantasy setting. Oh, they actually have like some example characters that you could play. Various characteristics, potential names. I'm not going to take any of that stuff. It would be a little bit cheap of me. This is brilliant. Play a Dragonborn if you want to look like a dragon. Okay. Alright. That's what I've always wanted. Some of the descriptive writing in here is brilliant. not for long, didn't really think about including the goblin. Well, I did consider it as a possibility, but it's not really one that. Then again, with a gnome, is the result of like interbreeding with other races a halfling still? Or is there going to be something new? I was thinking like, if there's goblins, are they going to be like half goblins? Because I mean, you know, that kind of thing's going to happen eventually, and there's going to be some fucked up like half races. But also because the races are purely aesthetic in this system, due to the drastically minimized nature of it, there really doesn't need to be too many. It just needs to present a reasonable range of options so that most players feel like what they want is there for them. Okay, I'm never going to make this sound as good as in the handbook there, but alright. Hailing from the depths of the deepest mines and subterranean cities, dwarfs are short, short, hardy characters with a powerful grip and a wide stature. I don't know why they have a powerful grip, but it just seems right. Many of this race will never see the light of the sun. However, a curious few rise to the surface in search of beasts and artifacts spoken of only in legend. Okay, here we go. Let's do it again. Let's see how it sounds on a fresh reading. Just clear the mind. And hailing from the depths of the deepest mines and subterranean cities, dwarfs are short, hardy characters with a powerful grip and a wide stature. Many of this race will never see the light of the sun. However, a curious few rise to the surface in search of beasts and artifacts spoken of only in legend. I'm pretty pleased with that. Oh, the first thing that you read when you get to elves is wild and free. Just wild and free. They're just crazy guys, you know, great at a party, wild and free. Oh man. These elven civilizations sound awesome. Like, according to this lore, they're so interwoven with the natural environment that you can literally walk into an elven city without even realizing it, because, I mean, they're just living in trees and all kinds of shit, living in the sides of cliffs behind waterfalls and all sort of beautiful things like that. Well, according to this, elves live for like 200 years, which is pretty impressive. Okay, let's just try to freeball something here. Sharing in a deep communion with nature. That should be capitalized. I'm pretty sure that was racist. Elves? How the hell do you write the plural of elf? I guess that's right. No. Elves. Oh, I just can't resist. Okay. I'm gonna put respect the wilderness. It just has to be done, guys. Sharing in a deep commune with nature, elves respect the wilderness and its beasts, regardless of their brutal nature. Often living directly from the land, they understand intuitively the changing of weather. It's getting weird. It's like weather patterns and the migration of animals. Is that right? Is that what elves do? They do in this world. Possess a deep, intuitive understanding of the shifting skies and migrating animals. Don't worry, I'll get someone to proofread this thing who can actually speak English, so we'll be fine. Migrating animals and turning of the seasons. There's probably more I could say, but I'm just going to keep it to a small paragraph like that so that it's around the same size as the one for the dwarf race. Half-elf. Elves and humans, yo. Probably need a bit more than that. Where are we at? We got halflings over here. Where are the half-elves? Are they even included in this book, or do we have to do some research on the interwebs? $42. Oh, there it is.